Thanks. Good afternoon. It's a busy show. I've been talking for 2.5 days, so if my throat gets a little rough, you'll have to excuse me. I've been up at the Shamira booth doing quick demos talking about LEDs, and LED integration is a term I've been using a lot because of what, and some of the people I see, the faces of people have been standing listening to me up there. What's happening right now is there's this whole craze, which happens with cameras, like the 5D happened and it kind of created another craze. Right now the whole thing is LEDs, and everybody goes, oh my God, a guy just came up to me and said I should get some LEDs, right? I said, I don't know, what are you doing? So there's this attitude of I must buy them, but it's which ones you get, what you're doing with them. Hey guys, what you're doing with them, and why you need them. A young lady was just asking me questions, and she's in a daylight arena, and she has tungsten fill, and she was having problems with the color, understandably. So I said, you know, this would be a great time to use some LEDs, and replace the tungsten, go daylight LEDs, put them in the Shamira light banks, and she could even things out. There's just a lot of confusion. So what I've been talking about, and I'm doing a workshop in Boston on April 20th with the camera company up there, and I get deep into this, but I light a lot of television news sets around the world. This is a Caracol network in Bogota, Colombia, and you can see there's obviously a lot of LEDs integrated not only into the set and the set pieces, but also we've got some lighting. And this one, I used primarily a lot of KinoFlow fluorescent on this and a lot of tungsten from ARRI. Not a lot of LEDs flying on the grid on this particular one, but they're all built into the set, and that happens a lot. So sometimes we're using them in the set for set direct decoration, you could almost say, and to give accents and things like that, and sometimes they're actually flying in the grid. Now, this is CCTV, Chinese Television Network, and this is one of their first bureaus they put in Hong Kong. Just to give you a sense of scale, I'm 5'8", oops, go back. I'm 5'8", my head almost touched that. That's here. So it looked like a little people set. And so what happened was the people in charge of CCTV deemed it was their responsibility to choose the lights. So they sent me 12 Philips blasters. White light, no barn doors, no diffusion, no nothing. That's all they sent and said, there you go, light it. And it's about as wrong a tool as I could want to light a bunch of people for multicam stuff. And so what I keep trying to tell people, and I mean, it took me a week, and I finagled more gear and flags and all kinds of stuff. We got it done, but I had to control all the spill because these are all LED color changing. So, and all the screens as well. So it depends on what you're trying to do. Now, obviously, if you've seen the ARRI video, I've been involved in their lights, etc., and I'm a huge fan of that light. It's a very particular tool. It's basically, it's a Fresnel and a Fresnel spot, and it acts like a real Fresnel, and I love that. But it's not going to be a big soft source, so it just depends on what you're trying to get into. This is something I just did for KSL in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is all LED screens, LED everywhere. A bunch of fluorescent, a bunch of tungsten accents. This is in Eastern Europe. This is all LED color changing set walls. That's white plex. I've got to keep all my light off that white plex or it's not going to show up as color. So I had to be very specific on exactly where the talent goes. This is the same set with a different color. That color's not going to pop if I've got light everywhere. So what they've got up here right now is a bunch of broadcasters or lowcasters, and they're spreading this nice even glow. I mean, it's great. But if I had a wall right here with a bunch of color, I'd lose all the color. So you've really got to be very careful on where you put the instruments and the exact instrument you try to put into place. This is the result I like when I'm lighting people on a news set. This is in Romania, obviously a very pretty face, but as you can see, just the light is just so soft on her and so pretty. This one's a bunch of big soft 4x4 bags from KinoFlow with accents of tungsten. So it's a mix for me all the time. But the whole background elements and all the other elements in this set were all LED, and I had to integrate both and program it all, etc. So what's happening, and the reason I said LED integration is that people are calling me in studios and saying, okay, we have a brand new studio, we want to go all LED, and I go, great, let's do it. How much are they? 2 to 3 grand each. Long pause on the phone, really long pause. Did you say 2 to 3,000? Yeah, about that each. Well, maybe we'll just get 10. Okay, and then they send me the rest of their list, and I've got lights from the 1940s and 50s, and then 10 incredibly brand new, amazing LED lights. So you've got to integrate it into a shoot and into a studio, and that's what I'm dealing with more than anything right now. This is a demo I did at FedEx Studios about a year or so ago, and they said, the head of FedEx wants to go all LED. Come show us what's out there. So I brought the L7, I brought KinoFlow's new one, I've got light panels here and all kinds of different things, and I showed him, here's kind of what's out there, just to give you an idea, and I kind of let them make some decisions. Then they saw the price point, and it's been a year and a half that I've been waiting to hear from them. So that's what keeps happening. And so they got some, and I'm like a small studio, and they'll all look at it, and if they like it, then they'll buy it a little bit more, and that's fine with me. The other way, this is NBC down in Dallas-Fort Worth, the other way that it happens for me is I'm matching things. So this graphic here is actually fluorescent backlit. This is a color graphic. This is a Clearplex wall. So they said, we want this to look like this. So the back I had to do myself and match it. So we've got LEDs both at the bottom and the tops of the wall coming in, and that's the back of that Plex wall you were looking at. And I'm just manipulating colors and teals and blues and purples, trying to get it to look like that on the front. So I think it was a pretty good match. So it's different on every job I'm going into as to where exactly they're ending up. Are they ending up on the talent? Are they ending up lighting background elements? But the understanding of what they can and can't do is a big thing too. This is that KSL set in Utah, and you can see it's just little strings of these LEDs, and they're all color changing. This is white Plex. But again, if I'm not controlling my spill light, it's not going to look like that. So in the previous shot, that was red. So it's an amazing tool. Just like with cinematography, we get new toys, new cameras. It's another tool, is how I look at it. But I don't think LEDs are going away. I don't think it's going to change that much. It's just going to get better, cheaper, brighter, etc. People have told me that there is a 10,000 watt Fresnel LED in process of being built that'll go into a 20 amp circuit. Daylight. So that's basically kind of like a 10K HMI that'll go into your house circuit. So we'll be lighting features without Jennies, and might be another 5 years, but it's coming. So it's not going to go away. So it's a matter of what you can work with. There's that same panel that was green in the previous shot. This is a job, won't say who this is, but this is a job where the client decided which lights to send. But it was for CNN in Miami, and they had a very beautiful woman who wanted to turn in all different directions. So when I got there and started hanging lights, and the director said, well, can she go this way now? How about now here? And then the jib's gonna come in, and I want her to come over here and walk over here. And I said, stop, this isn't gonna work. Let's just yank all this stuff. So we moved all these to a different part of the set, and I used them in different ways, but I ended up going back to fluorescence in big, wide Kino flows, and I wrapped her in a circle of fire, as we would call it, so she could move around. And I also put, this is the first test and the preps with, that's the director upset at me. So you can see they were all over the place, but I found out that I'm gonna have big problems. So I ended up relighting it. This is the second test, and you can see these are little Philips LED strings, and I've got them all around the riser, inside of her desk, down on the floor, wherever she goes. And then I used this is the Philips light that I used down on the floor. So we programmed that in as well. Wherever she's sitting, there's one down in here. And obviously she'd hate to see these pictures up here. She's not even in makeup yet. But then I used Source 4s and independently lit all the beams. So I'm gonna show you a really bad frame grab from the web that I saw, but this is what I ended up everywhere. And the reason I like KinoFlow, but I'm not saying that's the answer, but the point is they thought LEDs would fix it. It didn't. It was the wrong choice for that job. Might be for another job the right choice, but you just have to understand, talk to a lighting designer, get some meetings going, and get figuring out where you're heading with this, so at least you're purchasing the right equipment. If you're gonna spend the money, get the right gear. So I ended up with a lot of this, some of the LEDs. This is a terrible frame grab, but you can see this is the drama that we created with the look that we were finally done, and she looked like a beauty queen on camera because of the wrap of soft light everywhere, and she could turn in any direction. So it's just a matter of, again, what's the right tool. This is a thing I did for EA Sports with a bunch of Heisman Trophy winners, and talk about integrating. I've got two Kino flows here. I've got an ARRI Lowcaster as a backlight. I've got some old Bull Richardson's a bounce card, and I ran out of lights, and this is a mirror kit for the scratch on his cheek right here. I was using every trick I had. So the point is it ended up working and it looked good, but I've got 30-year-old Bull Richardson lights, and I've got an LED for a backlight. So it doesn't, it's if you understand light, it just give me the tools and I'll work with it. But the whole idea that you're gonna end up with a truckload of brand new LEDs on every job, probably not gonna happen every time you walk in. This is another thing for EA Sports, and they wanted it to look kind of like a hyped up press conference. So I've got KinoFlow Celebs. My center pop was an L7 from ARRI. I've got Bull Richardson backs. I've got a Lowcaster right here that was lighting the Heisman Trophy that was sitting here. So we're all over the joint. So I'm using anything and everything, but I have to know how to blend what's going on. We're shooting on reds in this one. So this is a very famous running back. Some of you might know who that is, but I've got this special on here, and then we've got colored backs. And so it's a matter of understanding the manipulation of color temperatures and what's the right instrument for the right job. And then we broomed those guys away and turned it into a green screen shoot and ended up shooting a ton of green screen specials on this just the same way. The L7 would be a great instrument for that, for colored backs. And then I shoot on location a lot. I shoot a lot of resorts. I shoot a lot of food and product. So here I am in France, and all I've got is 2 Locasters. And I'm at a really high-end restaurant. Not exactly the lighting package I would want, but I know enough to pull it off. So we ended up making some very pretty pictures. You can see we're doing desserts with this gentleman and some salmon. So it's a manipulation of understanding camera, lens, exposure, and if you got the right lights and a couple tools for bounce cards, etc., you can kind of work with anything. In this situation, I was thinking I was daylight. Another one, it might be tungsten. I just did something with the L7 that I had to match kind of a green fluorescent world, so I had to do plus green and the color correction. And so, but the idea that we've got lights that can do that now, that's what's kind of revolutionary to me, because that never happened before. So the combination of some of these new cameras, along with the ability to manipulate color temperature, color off of the same unit like an L7, I'm a happy guy. I just was in Ireland a couple of weeks ago. I got to spend St. Paddy's Day in a tiny town in Ireland. That's why I took the gig. It was really fun. But the night we get there, the producer says to me, "Can we shoot interviews tonight?" I said, "Well, the crew's getting here tomorrow. I don't have light stands. I don't have anything. Can we figure something out?" So, and I don't normally show this kind of stuff. I took a music stand and I black paper taped an ARRI Locaster to it, and this is one of those dividing curtain things that you see in restaurants, but it's fabric, it's great, it's diffusion. So I pumped this through here and ended up black paper taping the lamps on the back of the wall, and I pulled off a decent looking interview shot with just one Locaster. So if you do what you have to do, the same thing, you'll see a couple different shots here with different people, but with 2 Locasters and no light stands, I still got a shoot going for the guy, and I could match color temps to the room with the Locasters, etc. So I'm going to be up in Boston on the 20th. If anybody's in the New England area, there's a magazine floating around. It's a New England magazine called Imagine. They have a ton of them here, and there's an ad inside if anybody's curious. I'll be up there all day on Saturday the 20th with a full day lighting workshop, and otherwise, if anybody wants to reach me on my website, it's called Power of Lighting. There's a bunch of downloads you can get for free, and I'm always open to getting feedback to people. They send me stills, I send them back suggestions, etc. But anyway, back onto this, the whole idea is that if you're lucky, you'll get a boatload of them. Most times you get a couple, you get a dozen, and you've got to learn how to integrate them into the regular studio kind of setup that we all see on a daily basis. So I'm short on time here. They're going to kick me off the stage. I really appreciate you guys standing here and listening. Thank you very much.